Okay. First and foremost, we'll have apologies, please.
Mr. Chairman, Councillor Mrs. Chowdhury.
And declarations of interest. Richard. Sorry, Councillor Morris.
Thank you. Yeah, it's item 17. I'm a member of the Fire Authority.
Councillor Brooks.
And likewise, I'm also a member of the Fire Authority.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And I, to be allowed, I'm actually a member of the community panel, so we're checking. So I'll abstain on anything related to that.
Thank you. Number 3, to confirm as a correct record of the minutes of the meetings of the council held on the 18th of December 2023 at the council chambers in Regis House. Councillor Duffy, please.
I'm happy to propose they're correct.
Thank you. Any seconder? Thank you.
I'm happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. All in favour, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right then. I'm on now, aren't I? So, just to let you know, I haven't really got much of an update from last time because I think I went through everything that I'd actually done, probably bored you to death, but never mind, that's in my mayoral role. But I would just like to say that coming up now is after opening the castle in Droitwich, which was a very important day for everybody, opening the castle again. No hoorays for that one. Sacred Heart meeting, Methodist Church Fellowship, Norbury Theatre with Sleeping Beauty, which was very good as usual this year. I'm just up to probably topping up £6,000 on our charities now, charity money. We're just collecting a few pounds here and there. But I've managed to coax a dear friend of mine from many years ago, Jasper Carrot, and he's coming along to do a performance for us at the golf club, the Droitwich Golf Club. He's going to perform for £1,000 for his charity that will be going to the Edward Trust Birmingham. It's families facing loss and bereavement. Anything over that evening, it's not an actual mayoral thing, but anything over that evening, raffles, etc., we'll be keeping, and I would very much like to donate any extras to a youth group in Droitwich, which I have in mind, because that's what I'm interested in, is our youth. So I think that's it really. I think you all know what I've been doing, so that's that. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to say a few words, sirs, excuse me. So we're all delighted that you've come this evening, so welcome to you. It's such an honour and a privilege, so thank you. Our town, I'm sure, will be very proud to be connected with the Armed Forces, Covenant Bronze. However, I did have to keep it short. We do look forward to the next level, which is silver, isn't it? So we look forward to that. Thank you very much. I'll leave you to Richard now. Sorry, Richard. Have I said it all?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's so nice to be at the top with you. Unusual position for me nowadays. Yeah, I think it's a really big occasion tonight and one we can all feel very proud of. As chairman of the Worcestershire Armed Forces Covenant, then it really does please me that we have been awarded the Bronze Award. And I would like to thank tonight Colonel Richard Maybury, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Wadland, and Philip Sinclair, who's our engagement officer, and Carl for supporting this evening, along with Kate Labar, who is our superb officer for the Covenant at Worcestershire and Herefordshire County Councils. And together, I think we can mark this out as a real big date in Droitwich Town Council. And I'd like to thank town councillors for affording the opportunity to take the Bronze Award in terms of the Covenant. A lot of work has gone on behind the scenes, so along with Kate, I'd like to thank our town clerk, Mark Held, and the team for all the work that they've put into enabling us to achieve this, along with the work that the Town Council does in our community with our armed forces. And it's so good to see here tonight Flight Lieutenant Paul Wild and the air training vets from our air training squadron, who do a superb job in Droitwich. So thank you very much for being here tonight. You can see it's all behind us, so there's a big sign there. What does this mean? It means that we support our armed forces, we recognise our armed forces, and we want to lead in terms of an organisation. And we do hope that other organisations in Droitwich and the whole area follow suit and sign up to the covenant to show too that they respect and support our armed forces. So this is a mark in the ground to say, let's get others on board too. It's a really giant step that we're taking in order to do that. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
So, Chairman, if we can ask and introduce Philip Sinclair just to walk us through the actual signing ceremony.
Mr. Philip Sinclair, could you accommodate us, please?
Thank you, Councillor Fellows, Mrs. Fellows. Councillor, Mrs. Fellows, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to go around the back. Thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to facilitate the Armed Forces Covenant signing. The Council are in fact already signatories to the Covenant, so this is a re-signing, a reaffirming of the Council's commitment to the Armed Forces community, which I know is extremely strong, and I'm delighted that members of 2516 Droitwich Squadron Air Training Cadets are here with us today, which sort of underlines the Council's commitment really to the wider Armed Forces community. So what's going to happen? We will invite Councillor Mrs. Fellows and Councillor Morris to sign the covenant on behalf of the Town Council, alongside Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Wadland, who represents Defence. He's from Headquarters Army's Land Warfare Centre, and is here representing Defence tonight. This covenant will be the one that sits on the public website, the Armed Forces Covenant public website. So anybody wishing to know what it is the Council are pledging their support for will be able to witness that, and indeed the signatures of Councillor Fellows, Councillor Morris and Colonel Wadland this evening. And sitting alongside Colonel Wadland is my boss, Colonel Richard Babery, who's the Chief Executive of the West Midlands Reserve Force and Cadets. I work for Colonel Richard, and I also work for an organisation called Defence Relationship Management. My role is to engage with all organisations across the spectrum to advocate for the Armed Forces Covenant, the benefits that brings to those organisations that sign it. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to facilitate this. And as your account manager, I'm extremely grateful for your support. So thank you very much indeed. On that note, Councillor Spokes, can I ask you to sign where your name is, and Colonel Wadland, would you do the same on behalf of Defence? Excellent. Great. We'll just take one or two photographs. Carl, will you gather up the covenants? You.
I think it's probably best if we stand them in front of the side, maybe.
Sorry?
Stand them up in front of the
What, the signing
Yeah,
party?
yeah.
Yes, indeed. Would you mind?
Stand together with a bit decent. Yeah, and some money.
Me?
Yeah.
Young
Young
man.
man, that's what threw you off, isn't it? Bit more, come this way more. Good. Spare me 1 second. I'll do a bit. Jiggle pokery. That's why I got my old jeans on, because I wear these out.
Whilst all this is happening, once once the photographs are finished, I'm just going to invite Colonel Maybury to say a few words on behalf of the defence.
Come forward, you just go behind the back and from that, if you come forward, that's it, that's better. Just come this way a little bit, you go that way a little bit, go back a touch there, that's better. That's better.
Super. Everybody looking this way. Fabulous. Wait for the flash gun to charge back up. There we go. Couple more.
Everybody smiling, come on, Catherine.
Good stuff. Couple more.
Super.
Okay.
Hold that pose.
We won't feel let you out, we're going to stay in the middle.
No, that's it. That's great. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
It's really arranged.
In there, look.
No, I was just going to say a few
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say a few words. I know you've heard 3 people speak on the subject already, so I'll keep my remarks fairly brief. But it's a pleasure to be in Droitwich Spa this evening and at your town council meeting. As Phil said, my name is Richard Maybury. I'm the Chief Exec of West Midlands Reserve Forces and Cadets Association, which is a bit of a sort of quirky title for an organisation. So just very briefly, we do 3 things, the West Midlands RFCA. We manage and develop all of the reserve and cadet estate across the West Midlands. That's about 400 buildings altogether. We support Defence's Youth and Cadets programme, and we also do engagement, which is what we're doing this evening. Principally, we engage with employers and a lot of local authorities as well. The sort of main thrust of our engagement is persuading employers of the benefits of supporting their employees into the reserves and indeed to become Cadet Force adult volunteers. And the basis of most of our engagement is in fact what you've just signed this evening, the Armed Forces Covenant. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with that, but I think it just bears reminding. The Armed Forces Covenant is effectively the sort of contract or the agreement between the nation and its armed forces. So on the one hand, the armed forces are saying, if called upon, we are prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. And the nation is saying, well, great, and if you're prepared to do that, then we're prepared to treat members of the wider armed forces family, the entire armed forces family, fairly. And that means things like access to dental care, medical care, schools, housing, and so on and so forth. And in certain circumstances, indeed, the Covenant recognises that people deserve special treatment, particularly if they've been injured or there's bereavement as a result of their service. The Covenant has been around in a couple of guises since 2000, and the reason is you're already signing it tonight is because you're already signing it in its new format, which is fantastic. But nationally now, though, I think there are some 11,000, just over 11,000 signatories to the Covenant. In the West Midlands, somewhere between 1,200 and 1,300 signatories. And it is fantastic that you're signing today. I think, clearly there's a good measure of understanding around it, and we really do appreciate it. And I know that your particular support is written into the pledges in the covenant, and that's around things like giving people additional time off if they're a reservist or if they're a cadet force of dog volunteers, so that they can go and take part in their own training camp and other training activity, throughout the year. It's about, you've stated in there that you encourage local employers to advocate for the armed forces and indeed to employ reservists and cadet force dog volunteers and so on. And indeed advocating to those employers to employ members, perhaps veterans or spouses of serving personnel. And I know that your support in Droitwich to the cadets is very much evident, and it's very much appreciated. It was great to see some members from the RAF Air Cadets from the local squadron here alongside this evening. So we're really delighted that you signed. Thank you all very much. Your support, I say this to everybody, your support is massively appreciated by the armed forces, and it's certainly not taken for granted. So, Madam Mayor, councillors, thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yes. You know this list. Okay, thank you. So for item 6 then, this is the policing in Droitwich Spa. I'll hand over to Mark for this, please.
Just to confirm to members, the report from Sergeant Atkinson was circulated on Thursday, and there was a supplementary report today. Unfortunately, she can't make this evening, but there are officers here. I think that if you'd like to come to the front, just update, and that they can take any questions.
Where do you want this? Don't take all the line,
I
right?
don't know you comment.
Oh, I'm taller sitting down, so thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Evening all.
So I think everybody's had the report come through from the Sarge tonight, so we're happy to answer any questions you may have on what our involvement is, or I'm happy to discuss with you what our actions have been in the last couple of weeks and stuff. If anybody's got any questions, I'd like to open it up to ourselves.
Go on.
Thank you. I want to say thank you for the fairly comprehensive report. If you could pass that on to Sergeant Atkinson. I also wanted to see if we could delve a bit deeper into the antisocial behaviour that's been going on. I think that's something that's on a lot of the minds of the residents that I've certainly talked to. And it sounds like there is some good work going on. I was wondering if you could sort of clarify how much of the team's time it's taking up, and what sort of change in circumstances you're expecting from the work going on.
In relation to antisocial behaviour, whereabouts are you reporting antisocial behaviour? Where are people coming to you and say that there's issues?
So on my ward specifically, Droitwich West, there was obviously a lot of spray painting and graffiti that's been going on, especially over road signs. I know that was a few reports ago, but as far as I know, there's still been graffiti happening to a lesser extent. That seemed much more of a targeted attack on that area, but obviously still being seen elsewhere and still causing costly damage to the town. I can imagine that's taking up that sort of work is taking up a lot of teams' time as well, whilst there's other sort of crimes going on.
So we are looking for like more leads on the graffiti, because at the moment we've had a few names that have been put forward to us, but it's very difficult, as you can probably appreciate, the fact that if we haven't got anything on CCTV, we can't go back to said person and say, it's you. We've spoken to them about it and they've denied all knowledge of it. In relation to Droitwich West, there has been some more graffiti over some of the wall arts and subways, which we are aware of as the police, which we found out yesterday. And that's going to be logged appropriately with the crime number. There is tins of varnish as well that have been procured as well, which is going to be put onto the road signs in the area as well. In relation to your ward, so myself and Pat were on the west side of Droitwich, covered the western side. I've been trying to think of ways forwards, and this is what Sergeant Atkins mentioned about Maldeer, PCS or Morbid. Just trying to think what we can do, because at the moment we don't really get much information from the Westerns, because I think a lot of people are too afraid to speak up about issues, also the fact of repercussions as well. So it's still work in progress, and the logistics still need to be thought through, but I'm thinking maybe like a community concern box. So that's simply going to be put in the pharmacy at the Westerns, the community centre, the school as well, and also one centre as well. I've spoken to the high school today as well in relation to the graffiti as well, and they're going to have a look and see, pass it across the school to see if they can recognise it within the students. But I'm hoping that maybe the community concern box might get people feeling that they can speak up about the issues that's affecting them, because we do get reports of things from the Westlands, but it's not a great deal compared to other sides of Droitwich, because of people are afraid of the repercussions of naming things. So hopefully, if we can get our space known a bit more, because we're in New Zealand, myself and Pat, and also Luke as well, who's the Safe Neighbourhood Officer, we can get our face known and people can hopefully start coming to us as well. So we are out on patrol, trying to find things as well, like we do at times, unmarked patrols as well, trying to see if we can catch these people in action, but unfortunately we haven't had anything as of yet. So
I don't know if you're aware as well, there was limited staffing at Droitwich recently, so we've all increased the staffing levels. I don't know if Sergeant Atkins said that. So I've only started since after Christmas, so I'm just new to the team. Ben's just been a couple of weeks before Christmas. So, and Luke Bullock, who's our PC, he's recently started, so we're fresh to the area. So we're really keen to get out and about and meet people. We want to do some foot patrol and some mobile patrols. Obviously, we've got the town centre, we've got Westlands, but we've also got Fernal Heath and further afield. So it's just trying to vary our time. And then we've got the East team, we're also concentrated on that team. So we've got a really good team of staff now in place. And what it is, the rota has been put in that somebody's on duty nearly all the time. So rather than say tonight's only 3 of us, because I'm still in tutorship, so I'm obviously just still with my tutor. But when it goes independent, then we're hoping to get these shifts that we have somebody on an early and a late. So it gets somebody patrolling really out and about, rather than just all of us on one shift at one time. So if you see us 3 tonight, you should never see us 3 on the same shift again. Hopefully. I have asked the sergeant that, but I'm wrong. But yeah, it's just to keep you updated that the staffing levels have increased and patrolling should increase in more intense, really.
Councillor Morris.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to Droitwich.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
My question is, are we up to staff now in the Safe Neighbourhood team, or do we still have vacancies? And if we are up to staff, can we now have details of all the people in place?
Yeah, by all means, yeah, that's something that we're going to be putting out. We're all just getting our own cards. We've got the Droitwich West S&T team, got the East team mailbox that everybody can email into, and all the details will be put on the moment. We've just got photos done. We're going to be putting that out on the website so everybody can see, and there's a name and an email address and a works mobile number that people should be able to contact. I mean, obviously, we're not on duty 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because I don't know to go bust, wouldn't I? But there is somebody on, so there'll be somebody manning the email, somebody be able to do it. There should be a picture and a face to be able to recognise, so people recognise on the website. And again, I know a lot of the people, not everybody's on a website and email address. Some people like the old fashioned, I'd like you to come and knock on my door and speak to me. And then that's what we're open to as well. We're not going to just rely on technology. We want to get out there and actually get our faces known rather than just everybody email and text messaging now. So that's not what we're about. We want to be out there and showing a presence and trying to sort stuff out and see people in public and speak to people face to face. You can't beat that as much as you get a text message. Text message is great, but you never really know what people what people are really feeling unless you speak to people in person. And that's what we want to achieve really, and that's our aim going forward, to work together and get that going.
If I could just go back to the councillor that asked the question about Droitwich West and Westlands, if you don't mind. So, do people come to you and say that there's a lot of issues that are going on that they come to you directly about?
Not so much since the larger portion of the graffiti. I think I've still seen a few issues raised are Droitwich spotted, and I've had a few people still mention it to me offhand, sort of issues there. I do think the anonymous boxes is quite a good idea, especially as they settle in. If the use of them can be reported back, just sort of how many. I think that'd be a great way to.
I'm hoping it's still very much in the logistical stage, and we're going to see if we can maybe do an online thing as well, because certain generations love to put stuff on social media and online, as I think everybody can appreciate. So hopefully people can just go to town on an online report as well and provide that information. But in relation to us on the west side with the Westlands, so we do want to try and take a lot more proactive approach, speaking to housing about issues that people are having as well, but also taking more enforcement action if appropriate with the housing and go down that route. But just to reassure that we are trying to do what we can. So
I do want to very much commend the increased visibility. I think it's, like I say, it's really key for people's feeling of safety, but also, like you say, people's familiarity with reporting. I'm sure we can understand difficulties where staffing levels dropped, not for any fault of the team. Has there been much of a look back to see what the correlation is between some of the increasing graffiti and and that period where the team was really understaffed?
I'm not too sure. If I can feed that back to Sarah, and then she can get back to you on that.
That'd be excellent. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Jason?
I guess a lot of this occurs at night. And does PCSOs finish at 10?
That's correct, yeah.
I've seen a lot of the patrols are in cars. Is there any thought about doing a bit more on foot, maybe?
In relation to after 10 o'clock, it's covered by response officers who are out in the 999 calls. So every response officer at Droitwich and the local area is well aware of the issues that's going on. We're having a lot of burglaries, as I'm sure everyone can appreciate, like commercial, residential, industrial burglaries as well. So we have increased patrols as well, and the local officers like ourselves, but also the response officers are well aware of that, and are taking patrols as well in the early hours as well. So what we're trying to do as well, we're putting on Droitwich cops while you were sleeping. So I don't know if people have seen on Facebook. So it's just images of where officers have been overnight, just when people have been asleep, we've been there. Granted, we can't be in the right place at the right time, unfortunately, but we're trying to do what we can to try and deter as best as possible. Yes.
Councillor.
Thank you. What about other resources, like such as mobile CCTV that you can possibly set up in an area and just leave where you know it's being targeted and sort of leave it overnight to be monitored or looked at in the next morning? Is there any sort of resource like that you have or you like?
We can speak to social networks about that, and then she can speak to the council as well and see what we can do in that respect. But I think it's difficult in some respect with the graffiti, unfortunately, doing different places quite frequently. So when I was at the Westlands Residents Association meeting, they are looking, I think it's the town council looking to do some art walls as well at some point. So hopefully that might help the situation as well. But there's no date in stone when that's going to happen yet. But hopefully that might help, and we might even see some of the graffiti artists that are there, but we don't know. But hopefully that will help. I can pick that back regarding the CCTV and see what we can do.
Councillor Hopkins?
Yes, I'm the councillor for West, and one of the issues that has been raised is that there is a truancy problem, and one of the truants, I think he's 16, is the gang leader. And he apparently has only attended the school for lunch
Okay.
and things like that. And then we mentioned it to the officer that was here and who was temporarily covering things. But it's very important getting children into school, which is a really big problem in this country now.
Which area are you talking about, sir?
The Westlands.
The Westlands.
But I'm not talking about, but it is a problem over the whole country. Large numbers of children are not going to school. And therefore, they're probably wandering around, as far as we're concerned, wandering around the Westlands during the daytime.
So in relation to the daytime, it's a bit limited for activities in the Westlands area. There is youth groups, so myself and Pat have been to a youth group on a Thursday, which has been quite successful. Kids have interacted with us quite well, and we've not had any issues with the police, and it's just nice to get our faces known with that age group. I'm going to try and open it up to the older children as well, again, just to get my face known a bit more. But again, it's difficult because if you come into the Westlands, for example, like we're new to the area, people are not going to be wanting to speak to us, they're not going to trust us, but also they might want to just take the mickey of us or something like that, or necessarily just give us a bit of grief, for example. But obviously we need to try and build those relationships back again with us, and hopefully see that we can be that positive action as well, and they can. Because I was in the Westlands on foot patrol at 9 o'clock the other night, and there's some kids that came up to me that's 17 and 18, and just, oh, what are you doing? I said, well, on patrol. Oh, you coming here all night? Yeah, probably. All right then. So, but again, it's just getting your face now, just think, well, we are there. You might necessarily think, oh, the police aren't there, but when we get a chance, because of how big our SNT areas are, we do get out to the areas as much as we can. So.
Councillor.
One final one. Again, I want to commend the visibility both on the actual foot patrols, but like you say, on the social media side, on attending local activities. I think a big part of it is making sure people, especially our young people in the town, for the small number of them that are probably causing these problems, that people know that you're about and you're active. In terms of activities to familiarise yourself with the young people on the estates, or well, anywhere in town really, at the annual Westlands Family Fun Day, I know in the past, the Safe Neighbourhood team has brought the speed camera down and done sort of an activity where the kids run and see how fast they can and test it. That always gets quite good. Quite good.
So is that the Westlands? Was that the Christmas meal, or not Christmas meal, the Christmas party at the community centre, and the kids came up to me and said, can you take away the Grinch, please? That was really popular. All the kids loved that and got really, really engaged with that. I think the main thing from, excuse me, from us, our point of view, is a lot of people will come to us and say that we're having issues with XYZ, and we look in our police systems and we've had no report of it. So I think the main thing is to pass back to your communities as well, just to say people to report it, because people will quite happily put stuff on Droitwich Spotted or Spotted Droitwich and saying this has happened. When we check, we've not had a report of it. We can't take action from stuff like that. We can be aware of it, but we can't take action. So yes, it's going to increase our workload, which we don't mind, but we need to be more, because if we know where the issues are, we can target more patrols. We can pass it on to, for example, the response officers after 10 o'clock in the evening when we finish. So take a drive around out here, for example, and just see what's going on, because people are reporting things.
If there's any signs that we can help to, if it would help for us to put up signs, sort of reporting channels anywhere, I think I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Around my
And
states
that's
and the rest
emergency
of it
as well, then.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we encourage people to ring 101.
And report stuff, yeah, it's important that they report stuff on it, rather than just leave it on the website. It's important they use 101, so it gets allocated to officers and response officers to come out and deal, and then for us in the community to follow it up really, because our role is to follow up stuff that goes on. So stuff, criminal damage gets reported, it'll get passed to an officer, response officer to investigate, and then it gets passed to community policing then to follow up and do the patrolling in that area to follow on, to try and work out what's gone wrong.
So what's the difference between emailing the Droitwich West team as opposed to reporting 101? Where's the cut-off between the two?
101 is response, so it goes through to the main control room. So 101 is the main control room where it gets logged. should it goes through to the Drop Roads West email and say Ben's off or I'm off and we're not back in for 2 or 3 days, it gets missed. If it goes through to 101 and they check that nobody's in, then it gets allocated to the response officer or an officer from a different area to deal with it. Sometimes people are reporting stuff by email saying it's happening now, can you come out? And that email is not being picked up for a couple of days. By ringing 101, reporting it, there's officers, then there's a controllers that are allocated an officer to attend that area straight away.
So what kind of things would the email address be used for?
It's something that happened maybe historically, something that happened last week, or my neighbours would say last week they were out in the street or they were dumping rubbish, so lower level stuff. Anything to develop crimes, anything involved kids causing an issue in the park, they're causing vandalism, they're causing a nuisance, they're just being rowdy and misbehaving, that they may be up to no good. There's no point coming back 24 hours later and saying these kids were there, they're gone now. But if we can get officers out there and then, get their names, get their details, pass it down to community policing, then to put a plan in place that we have their details really. Because otherwise we can't identify who was involved at the time.
That's good, thank
you.
I think also what would be nice as well from the new team as well, like new colleagues, just to get out there and meet your communities, because if you can feed back to them if there's anything that you want us to attend, or like if there's any parish council meetings, or there's some certain groups that people meet and think, oh, they'd be nice to have case presence just to introduce ourselves to, more than happy for that. So it'd be nice to get some more figures on the ground from your communities to actually where you want us to be met. So, yes.
Councillor Davis.
Ringing 101, I've had mixed experience. A few years ago, a neighbour who would definitely not want to speak to the police, but quite happy to tell me that there were some suspicious characters lurking in an alley of Friars Avenue. So I thought, well, I don't understand this. The way he explained it to me. And I rang 101 and they asked me to describe them, but I couldn't, because it wasn't me who'd seen them. A little while back, some days later, there was a report in burglary where he described these people. So if the 101 people, I know they've got to ask questions, but when somebody explains something to them in a logical way, I can't tell you what they look like, then maybe they can use a little bit more initiative on getting something done. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, take that on board, thank you.
Thank you.
For a final question, anyone please?
Just a quick one, actually, talking about the community, talking about new problems with lots of young people. As an ex-teacher, I always found children were very impressed by policemen coming to school. I know my grandchildren, for instance, would love to see a policeman talking to them at their assemblies. Is it something you've got on your radar to do? Because I think they actually want to. In this particular lad wants to be a policeman. He runs about our house wearing his policeman's helmet. So seriously, I mean, that's a fun thing, but seriously, I think it is that kind of relationship you want. If you get them younger, go to the primary schools, first schools.
So I'm seeing the King's Halford on this Friday. So reception class. 28 very eager kids wanting to see the police. Yeah.
They want to be handcuffed. You know,
Teach them how to police. They don't often get opportunities to do that.
So that's it then for that. But yeah, we'd like to thank you very much, and it does sound as if you're very determined, and we would like to see more presence on the streets. I mean, that's it's what people want to see. I can remember that as a child. So, but thank you very much for your time this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, for the high school now, number 7, the high school.
There's no report, Chairman, for the high school.
Right. Okay. And youth council, number 8.
Councillor Morris wants to update on number 8.
Yes, number 8, Youth Council. Good news, we are starting Youth Council again with the support of the high school. The first meeting is now diarised, and the Mayor and Sergeant Atkinson from the police are going to come along to the first meeting, which is in February after half term. I think it said in the notes last time we couldn't make the December meeting, but I think Mark or Councillor Duffy gave an update for me. But Maisie Truman has been appointed as the senior lead member of staff at the high school, and she's going to run the student voice effectively at the high school. She's presented to the school pyramid the idea of the youth council and working with the community, the town council, and that got overwhelming support through the school pyramid. So just about all the schools want to be involved. So they're going to base it at the high school, and we're going to run the first session as an interactive session with the youngsters to see what they want to be involved in, what initiatives and ideas they've got to support the town, and how we can work collaboratively moving forward. A big part of that initially will be the Mayor's Awards. That's one of the reasons that the Mayor's coming along to the first meeting to position those awards and get everyone on board. So it's a good sign. We've got the first 3 meetings diarised, so there's a great intention now from the high school and the school community to see this come forward.
Thank you, Councillor Richards. I think that's a really good thing, isn't it? It's got to be. Sorry, it's music to my ears, that is, for the youth. So thank you for that. And I'm sure it is for George as well. Right, so number 9, council estimates and precepts 24-25.
Yes, Chairman, this was to ratify the recommendations, 2 parts, the community amenities, which was fees and commissions last Monday, and then part B is the resources committee, including the precept, which was outlined in the draft minutes that have gone out last Monday. So a proposer, seconder, and all.
Proposer for that one, please. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. And a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Brooks. And all in favour, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, number 10, investment policy review and options.
Thank you, Chairman. This follows on really. It was covered in the financial report from the aforementioned committees last Monday. It's in heavier print on the agenda that from the draft estimates to recommend investment of 100,000 general reserve into the CCLA fund, which is at the moment paying around 5.2, 5.3%, but on a rolling 6-month bond basis. So that will enable us to track any base rate changes and changes to that interest rate, but at least we will be getting some additional supplementary income from it. So if members are happy with that, it was a proposer, seconder, and all in favour.
Yes, propose, please. Thank you. Trying to look at all of you. Thank you, Councillor Seaton. Thank you, Councillor Bowden.
And all in favour.
And all in favour. Thank you very much. The number 11, community legacy funding. Mark.
Thank you, Chairman. This one follows on from community and amenities last Monday as well. It's just to confirm that working with Becky from the Heritage Managers, we submitted the Part 1 community legacy bid for the museum refurb last Wednesday. So we expect to hear whether we're successful for Part 2 or not over the next 2 or 3 weeks, but we'll continue to update through CNA in February.
Thank you. Any?
Just for information.
That's just for your information. Number 12, community ownership funds.
Again, Chairman, this one is just to reaffirm for information. This letter was provided by the Mid-Worcestershire Member of Parliament, Nigel Huddleston, back in early December. It's a really good opportunity for funding. It's the Community Ownership Fund. It's for larger scale projects, and there is a window of opportunity up to March 2025. So it was just to remind members that potentially that one could come back to either through the committees, resources, or full council with some suggested ideas, because it's a really good opportunity. It's in the region of 250k is the funding that's available, so it's ambitious projects for the community.
Any comments on that?
Could this not be used for the blind bands?
Who should I?
Possibly Councillor Brooks.
Councillor Brooks, please.
In what way are you suggesting?
I don't know much about the fund, I'm not gonna lie, but it says community ownership owned funds. Well, I think the Brian Bats, I believe, would be effectively community owned enterprise. So if we can look and see if it meets the criteria, that's all I'm asking.
We're happy to take that up with Salt, the resident group. But I think one of the issues here, well, a couple of issues, this sort of often works better for things like a pub, where it's already there and, you know, it's defined. At the moment, you know, because it's a much more expensive thing to build a Brian Bats. I think the amounts that actually are available are not sufficient to do that. But thank you, yes, I appreciate the suggestion.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I was just going to say, I think, as Councillor Brooks said, he'll do with Brian Bass. I think it makes sense for anyone who knows of any ambitious group in the town that has a project planning or has a project in the works. It'd be good to make them aware and then hopefully bring any results back to ourselves, and we will have the opportunities to support. I think I imagine, as with most funds and grants, requires sort of something that's a bit shovel ready. Well, I know that the deadline on this is a while off, so I think we will have time to help. If there are any good projects around, we will have time to help.
If I can to round that off, in fact, I did make Salt as well in this particular funding stream, and I know they have looked at quite a number, including heritage lotteries and so forth. But again, it's bringing the whole thing together. But again, I thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you. So 13 is the Neighbourhood Development Plan project report. Can I hand that over to you?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I present the report as in the agenda papers. And just to bring you up to date, I'm pleased to report the steering group meeting took place last Thursday, the 18th of January. And it was attended by Andy Ford, a senior Wychavon planning officer, along with David Nicholson, our consultant, our professional consultant. And they both confirmed that we're making good progress and we will continue to receive full support from Wychavon District Council. Andy's been ensuring that the project is fully aligned and supported by Wychavon as the local planning authority. He's also encouraging neighbourhood development plans generally for the Wychavon area. And I'm very pleased to report that Droitwich By Town Council continues to be a trailblazer in delivering this initiative, which is rather nice. We received around 800 full responses from the initial questionnaire, which is more than sufficient to enable our consultant to begin to formulate the first draft of our plan. Just to put that in perspective, Buckingham only had 300 replies for a population number similar to ours. The anonymised responses are available for everyone to view on the Town Council's website, and you can obviously have a look at that if you wish. And just to remind you of the process, once we have the first draft of the plan drawn up by our consultant, we will begin a new 6-week consultation period. So any resident will have the opportunity to respond to their views as the plan develops. The 800 responses are just to enable us to start getting the first draft put together. Once residents' views have been received on the 6-week consultation and our consultant has updated the plan to reflect any input there, it will be submitted to Wychavon District Council for further consultation, then followed by an independent examination by an inspector appointed by the Secretary of State. Finally, of course, all those on the Droitwich voters list will have the final say at the referendum, which will be timed to align with the South Worcestershire Development Plan revision. So I can update you that 3 new reports are now showing as attachments on our website, on the Town Council website. That's the design codes from the ACOM work in November, the survey results summary and report, as I mentioned, and also a comments report on those findings. So just go along to the neighbourhood plan section of our website and you'll see it there. And those reports actually went live, I think, Friday last week. Thank you.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I just wanted to recommend that everyone goes and reads the responses we've had. I think all of them showed a really strong voice from each respondent, sort of showing quite in-depth understanding of their opinions. And it was really nice to see that we're almost entirely in line with many of the focuses and many of the kind of matters that I've seen members around this room have at the forefront of their mind whilst representing the people of Droitwich.
Thank you very much.
Just
Councillor
pick on that one. Yes, I was actually very pleased. One of the responses, or our consultant from the summary of the responses said, people in Droitwich have a sense of place, which is obviously the technical term. And I think it's quite clear that's why Droitwich is such a nice town, is because people do take that sense of place, a sense of belonging here and wanting to contribute. So that's well worth reading, as Councillor Duffy said.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Any other comments? No? Okay. Right, 14, to receive and consider the minutes of the under-mentioned meetings.
So those 3 sets of draft minutes, Chairman, went out on Thursday. If members are happy, you can take those in block. They're last Monday's meetings.
Is everyone happy with Councillor Duffy?
I'm quite happy to propose those as correct.
Councillor Brown?
Second.
All in favour? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So Whichehaven District Council, Droitwich Spa Place Board updates. I think, are you going to?
That's me, isn't it?
Councillor
Mayor.
Simpson, please.
Delighted to report this, the place board is sort of meeting much more often than was intended at the beginning, because there's so much going on, which I'm very pleased to say. Everybody will have seen that the lights are in the High Street. That's the most visible expression of what we've done so far, the place board has done so far, and they're there for all the year round, of course, not just for Christmas. So that's why they're still there. So tell anybody they're not the Christmas lights, they are there to bring people to our High Street. We've also been looking at Tower Hill there, and there's various ideas for an art project, which is going to, and also using up Tower Hill much more. That's one of the other items which we're looking at. The Lido project, which is our biggest project, is gaining ground. We are now in a position where it's going to go to be discussed by the executive board at Whichehaven on the 7th of February. I don't want to prejudge any of that, but it is going to Whichehaven, the plans which we have supported and which a lot of people want. We also discussed the health corridor along the canal. There's also a move to resuscitate the car rally we used to have. And apparently, it was, one of our members, of course, is Rod Spollen, who's sort of Chateau Whitney, and he's already planning this at the Chateau Whitney to resuscitate these, to bring these back. And we're discussing that's being looked into, the idea of bringing that. We all want to brighten up the High Street by bringing planters there, and also the links with the Heritage Centre here. There's a lot going on, very long, very interesting meetings, very lively things, and we're working obviously with the Town Council and with Whichehaven. So I'm pleased to report that there's a lot of positives there, and there's a lot of excellent work going on. So thank you on that.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Any more comments on that one, please?
Do you want me to give a further update on Whichehaven matters? Are we on according to the same agenda item?
No, it's county
It's
council.
County Council. You've thrown me now, George. You've thrown me now. Yeah. County Council matters?
So, Chairman, on this one, the report from Councillor Morris has been circulated earlier today to all members. It's just if there's anything further from Councillor Morris and Councillor Brooks.
Have we any?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may just add to that report from Councillor Morris, but I'm very pleased that I've been doing a lot of work for a long time, as most of you know, on improving our footways and various areas in the town, and it's taken a long time, but I'm very pleased to see that we're now in a position that some of this work is now able to be done, despite rather difficult budgetary constraints that the County Council, along with most councils, are working on.
Thank you. Any comments on that, Councillor Lovely?
I'd just like to thank Councillor Morris for his county work on improving the paths on Droitwich West, and I think I ended up darting all over town, so I should probably thank Councillor Brooks for making the path safer on the east side as well, and all scheduled well, so it's sort of known about ahead of time.
Yes, I have heard comments from your things there. Okay, councillor.
So just to say, because if you've read the report, I said since 21, 22, 24 pathways have been resurfaced in Droitwich West. I still want more. That's still plenty more that need doing. That's what we've managed to achieve so far. So there's plenty more pathways to enable people to walk safely, to walk effectively, as well as the roads as well in that area. So we will continue. What I'd like to draw into is some of the environment initiatives. Obviously, that's my cabinet position at county, but there's a whole host of initiatives there with links where you can have a say in terms of local nature recovery strategy. We've set the issues and options out, and anybody can contribute to those issues and options in terms of the consultation. Local nature recovery strategy, the county is the lead authority, but there are lead authorities for nearly every county across England, and that will become a complete picture once they become draft and then passed local nature recovery strategies. That's really important in order to engage with that. And then the initiative, the Natural Networks, which is the partnership between the county and the Wildlife Trust. And now there's a 70% grant to support organisations, local communities that have ideas to support biodiversity and nature. And I really do thank our town clerk and Droitwich Town Council for the initiatives that we've got underway that will be a big part of the Natural Networks programme. But you'll see there's a few other initiatives there as well. Home upgrade grant, so please do get that out to your communities. That's support for low-income households that are not connected to main gas, and that is a good grant support for people in those households. So important that we pass the message around, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Richards. Any comments on that, please?
Regarding nature recovery, it's the great RSPB Great Garden Birdwatch coming up, 26th, I think, to 28th. And the more people who sign up for that and record, you only have to spend an hour outside of it. The more information the RSPB accumulate will help in the future to show how wildlife is faring in Droitwich, because birds eat insects, for instance. So if insects are recovering, certain birds will. So can I encourage everybody to have a look at this and sign up if you feel like it?
The world is your oyster, Mr. Davidson.
I've always been keen on birds.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. Just for Councillor Davidson, may I just suggest you circulate the appropriate link?
How?
I think you asked that.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry, yeah. Through via the town clerk.
Yes.
Yeah, certainly.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more comments on that one? No? Okay, thank you. Move on to 17.
I think, Chairman, on that one, Councillor Duffy just wanted to update on that.
So as hopefully all will have read, it's a consultation, so please all respond. I wanted to make everyone aware that District Councillor Dan Birch has approached other district councillors of Droitwich about meeting with Chief Fire Officer John Bryce to go through to give more context to the consultation, and I've asked this to be extended, or this invite for a meeting to be extended to ourselves as town councillors. So hopefully that will be organised shortly. So hopefully an update with an actual date for a meeting and a location will come soon.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any more comments on that one? Okay, so number 18, District Council matters, to receive reports on District Council matters. Councillor Duffy, back to Councillor Duffy.
That one's me as well. I know I didn't get time to send out before, much before today, but hopefully everyone's had a scan. I'd encourage everyone to have a full read of it in their own time, but paying attention to the Whichever Design Code consultation. This is a great way for anyone with local knowledge to impart that on the Whichever policy that will cover housing design and streetscapes. As well as that, to remind everyone, I think it may have been in my last report as well, that the severe weather emergency protocol is ongoing, and there's links and details for reporting anyone who sees someone rough sleeping, so they can get the support they need to stay safe over the winter. As well as this, changes to postal and proxy voting. Details are further in there for anyone to encourage anyone they know who hasn't got their ID for voting, or anyone who votes by proxy to engage with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Okay, moving on to 19, to consider a motion for creation of a sustainability panel. To receive and consider the following motion proposed by Councillor Neil Franks.
Thank you, Mayor. You may have seen in the news that once again a record has been broken, and 2023 was the hottest year on record. And the target of maintaining our temperatures globally as an average of 1.5 degrees Celsius is likely to be breached this year, and it is only going to get worse. The world's governments are failing to tackle climate change, and we are on course to get at least 2.7 degrees Celsius by 2100. Now that might not seem much, and it might seem like a bit of an extra suntan. I can guarantee you it's going to be absolute devastation around the world. Every part of our society has a responsibility to not only decarbonise, but also restore our natural planet. This is to be undertaken whilst involving and improving our communities, as well as ensuring economic stability. This very much includes our town council. No matter how small our emissions are against the planet's overall emissions, we can lead by example and play a proud part in making our children's futures better. The town council is held with pride by our community, as people know that we are here with the town's best intentions in mind. This provides us with the ability to influence other partners, and we're required to play the agitator. I hope that you will join me in voting for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Franks.
So, it's a proposer, a seconder.
Yep.
Any
Okay,
further
so
comment?
could we have a proposal, please?
We've got a proposer.
Sorry, of course you have, sorry. And a second. I'll second. You'll second that. And are you all, Councillor Duffy?
So I was going to comment. I think I very much support ideas to make our council more environmentally friendly and improve our sustainability practices, which is why it's a bit disappointing, because this seems to go over work that's already been done. I'd say through many of the motions that we've seen come up at our various committees and within our council, members have brought forward great sustainability suggestions and improvements. I think what worries me is this seems to put a lot of extra resource demands on officers and on the council to do work that's already being done through other committees. For example, part of the motion, I believe, was about engaging with the community about sustainability practices. We have our CNA committee that engages with the public very well, and there's a great opportunity to bring motions forward around specific sustainability initiatives that we could share with the public. And I know that within our planning committee, many planning applications, members make great points on sustainability that carry through into the recommendations we make to the full district council. I think it would be a shame if putting a lot of resources into work that's already ongoing through committees and through the work that everyone in this room I've seen most members in this room bring some sort of sustainability work and motions. I'd like to think that I've, in some of the work I've done on initiatives within this town council, improved our sustainability practices, but also brought good sustainability practices into the new work we've done. I think on that, I think it feels like an unnecessary motion to me that potentially doubles up on a lot of the work we're doing, making it difficult to put more money into the good work we've got ongoing, such as the boiler improvements that was very improving on our environmental practices, as well as the work sort of upstairs for the new offices, where through our existing council channels, we will have a great opportunity to bring environmental practices into that. I think as has been seen on the working group for the park improvements, I think we have a good working panel on that brings sustainability practices into that initiative. So we have these models already, and for that reason, I don't think I can support this motion. On top of that, structurally, it worries me that although it calls itself a panel, it's very much in the structure of our existing committees, which I think do great work, but are no shortage of officer resource.
It occurs to me that having 9 meetings a year is likely to increase emissions rather than reduce on the basis that we'll be having lights on longer and so on and so forth, and people will be travelling. Can I ask Councillor Francis if he'll be riding his bike to these meetings?
Okay, so this is plainly a bit ridiculous. I can see the smirks going on in your faces. I mean, seriously.
Excuse me, no.
No, I'm seeing smirks all across
No,
the room.
not
It's
smirks.
madness asking everybody to ride me bicycle to the meetings.
Point of order.
How about if we
Just
had a
stick to the
sustainability
point.
panel, we could actually discuss a lot of the issues around having the lighting on, about cycling, about the cycle paths that we don't have really around the town centre. There's so much that's not dealt with that this panel could look at. And it's clearly that he's not going to vote for it. I mean, that's absolutely clear now. And it's a real shame because it could have been a real positive for the town. And it could have been involving there's an education piece there that he's completely ignored, where we could have got the public more involved, made them understand it. You've heard of the term citizen panels. We could have been doing a bit of work around that to bring the public on board and ask them what they think about sustainability and how to change our lives and what the council can do. And I don't think you would do it on any kind of scale that this panel is looking at. You've talked a few items, which is great. I like the green infrastructure for the cycle stores. That's absolutely fantastic work. But that's not the same as having a sustainability panel to look at this in far more detail. And I think the fact that you think that is what is needed, as opposed to a concentrated panel to look at this, shows you where we're going wrong in this country and the world in tackling sustainability and climate change. So I do find it a real shame that it's clearly you're against it.
I did say I wasn't trying to stop you from speaking and putting your point of view. That's absolutely appreciated. What I don't want you to do is to chastise people around the table with saying smirks. I think we should stop that particular thing. Councillor Richards.
Go to Councillor Duffy, please.
Councillor Duffy, please.
Thank you. I think I'm happy to say I smirked at Councillor Davidson's comment because I think it's a funny joke, but also because it draws attention to the fact that the motion doesn't take into account the impacts of it. I think it's great to look at things, but not if it's a good use of resources. To look at the cycle infrastructure of the town within a committee at town council doesn't really do much because we have no powers over installing cycle lanes, over commissioning county engineers to look at the physics of it, and is in fact work that's done through districts and county council, and would say that as a district council yourself, that would be a much better vehicle for it, as we have as it is looked at through the carbon reduction panel of Wychavon, as well as through the town centre panel to help look at what our infrastructure is and where we can improve it. I think it's important to look when looking at a motion what the actual powers would be, and I struggle to see this. And as I said, with the idea of educating people, I think that's a great plan, but that's something that can be done through CNA on specific topics. So when we're making an improvement to something on the town council, we could look at, if the motion's put forward then, communication plans to help educate the public. To do it on, well, it's not have anything, we're almost looking for problems to solve, and that's when we risk creeping over where our abilities are within this institution.
Councillor Humphries, please. I'll come back.
Thank you. Firstly, to just reassure Councillor Davison that I walk to all the council meetings and walk home again and receive nothing printed or electronically. That's not necessarily by any other reason than I have no other choice. But also to pick up on your point, Councillor Duffy, I think I agree that a lot of this are areas that we can't control, but we do have influence and we do have a voice. And I think for a lot of people around the town, we are probably the people that they see out and about and talk to and feel that they can approach. I know you're all very approachable at whatever level you represent people, but there's many more of us than there is district and county councillors for the area. So I think whilst we don't have control over those things, we do have influence and we certainly have a voice.
Thank you, Councillor Humphreys. Yeah, Councillor Francis, please.
Yeah, it was just a point about the sticking to our remits. Well, we don't have a remit for planning, but we do have a committee for planning in order to voice our concerns as town councillors to the planning process that's handled at the district level. So it's not true to say that we do not have a voice and that we should only stick to what the town council specifically is in charge of. Just like Councillor said, we represent the people of the community and we should be able to represent that on a range of issues that go beyond our little remit and into the remits of the district, the county, and even the national strategies that are in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neil. Sorry, France.
Thank you.
I'm tired.
Thank you, Madam
Sorry.
I agree with the intention of the motion, but I do think we have the facility to manage that through community amenities. Anything can go onto the agenda community amenities. We create subgroups for anything that is of importance that we can carry forward. Like Councillor Duffy said, we've got the parks one with natural networks at the moment. That could be widened and handled accordingly. If we find that it doesn't, then let's look at it again. But at the moment, I do believe we've got the facilities and the structure to do that. The time to make changes is the annual meeting as well, because we have a set list of council meetings and council agendas. But let's not throw it out totally. Let's carry on as we are, raise the items, and if we need to modify as we progress, then we can do so, considering support from the office to manage it.
Councillor Brazier.
Neil, whereas you've got investigating CO2 emissions, etc., how do you propose to do this? What resources is available to do this?
Well, it's the CO2 emissions is not really a difficult one to start with. I mean, but of course it depends on what scope you go to. So again, it's about education. You may not know scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. Scope 1 is about your direct emissions control. 2 is if you had renewables. Okay, well, not everybody has, but you would build up on that. So it might be that the staff already record the electricity data, the gas data, the water data, etc. So it's just about bringing that data into a spreadsheet that concentrates on looking at that. But obviously, if you go to scope 3 emissions, that's a big subject, and you have to just do it bit by bit over time.
So you've got the town council. So you're looking at CO2. Are you talking about the people that work for town council, or us as a body, as town councillors?
Well, it was the buildings and the land that's owned by the town council was my initial thinking. But again, it's about sitting down and hammering out these kind of conversations. You're already asking us stuff that we should be starting the process of in a sustainability panel discussing.
Right. Councillor Della, sorry, you put your hand up some time ago. I'll come back.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not necessarily against this. But I want to echo what Councillor Morris said. I want to see how we can get this into what our current format is already. And if that's not feasible, then let's come back to it and then let's look at it from there. So what I'm suggesting is, I personally would like to see us the furthest to see how we can put it into the current schedule. If it doesn't work, then come back to it, is how I'd like.
Okay, I appreciate you trying to find a reasonable sort of middle ground here, but my concern is that I chose this because it needs its own dedicated time. You know, if you try and squeeze in this, you know, the kind of issues I want to bring up into that committee meeting, well, I could expand that massively. You know what I mean? How long do you want to sit there in a room on top of all the other stuff you've got to discuss? So, you know, that's why, and you know, I know George, sorry, I'm having a drink. You know, George wanted me to discuss the implications on council staff time, and I think that's very reasonable. Unfortunately, we weren't able to talk about it beforehand. But, you know, the remit, the kind of structure and everything that is up for grabs. I'm happy to sort of, does it need to really have council staff, or do we have just 1 or 2 meetings a year with council staff and the rest of the time is just led by a chair of the panel? All of this could be up for grabs, but I'm just worried that, you know, you're asking yourself for a nightmare if you want me to start proposing stuff to the community committee meeting based around the ideas of what's in the sustainability panel.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks, so this is a final one now, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, I'm sorry, but this is a very lengthy and overcomplicated proposal, and it takes no account for the fact that we're a small organisation with very, very limited resources, and we achieve a lot with those resources, I'm very pleased to say. However, yes, I agree, sustainability is very important, and I think we all agree with that. But I think the way we can do it as a small organisation is simply to always be very much aware of the importance of sustainability in our decision-making processes. And obviously the planning committee is one of those where, as has already been discussed, funnily enough, I mean, that can be brought up, and certainly other matters like improving heat station buildings, the opportunity arises, or again, where we're changing the boiler, we've looked at the most appropriate replacement. So I think if we really just carry on with our normal business, but always have that extra layer, that extra question, sustainability. And I'm quite sure that Councillor Franks will hold us to account wherever possible on decisions there, and he'd be right to do so, and I would support that. But I can't support the actual motion because I think it's really going to detract from what we do as a council with our very limited resources, and we do punch above our weight. But it's not actually going to achieve what he wants because we just don't have the statutory powers, but certainly we can do a lot with our own decision making, and again, by raising that point and publicising that we're doing this particular thing, or we're making that comment on the planning application, by doing things like that, then we can certainly achieve towards the goal of sustainability. So, Councillor Frankston, and we all want, but it's a question of just doing it in a manageable way so that we can achieve something but not also detract from all the other things that we do.
Okay. So
I was just going to say, if you're proposing separately to the formality of council, an informal meeting, a think tank of some of the issues that we then put into the formality of council, I think that's a different matter, and I think that's got merit.
okay, thank you.
So Chairman, we've heard a lot this evening on this matter, but going back to the agenda, we've got a proposer and a seconder, so it needs to go to the vote as presented.
So,
So to the vote, all in favour?
so can I just go to the vote then, and all in favour, please?
All those in favour?
Yes. I think this is an ongoing thing, isn't it?
Or any against?
Any against?
Okay, that's fine, thank you. Any abstentions?
Any abstentions?
Thank you.
Right.
This is item 20.
Yeah. So item 20, to consider a motion for an annual survey of Droitwich Spa Town Council to receive and consider the following motion proposed by Councillor Franks.
Thank you.
So back to me.
I'm sure I speak on behalf of all councillors when I say that we appreciate the hard work, professionalism and determination of the Droitwich Spa Council staff and volunteers. I have no doubt there are excellent work management plans in place, but I also think it only right that councillors play an active role in supporting our staff and volunteers. And I believe this motion will create the process that we need to ensure any concerns or suggestions are listened to and acted on. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, got a proposal, Chairman has outlined. Is there a seconder? Okay.
Thank you,
Any
Councillor
other
Morris.
comments?
And any other comments on that, please? Councillor Duffy.
I think, again, I really appreciate where this motion's coming from and the intention to try and be more involved with officers and volunteers, which I'd say the best bet is to come down to the office, to work with the volunteers and to work with the officers. But again, I think this motion hasn't looked at what's already in place. I know that I've seen a lot of motions come forward from our office for additional resources as is necessary and as is opportune. For example, our planned improvements to the internet capabilities of the building, the improved phone lines, improved servers. I think I can't see where this motion improves on an issue that's there, whereas it again adds pressure on the resources that we have without particularly achieving something that's not already being achieved. I think we regularly see updates and motions to improve our working practices as brought forward by CALC and I think NALC as well, that keep us up to date on the best practices as identified and as used by most local government associations around the county. I think if there was an issue being brought forward with these motions that we're not currently hitting, something to say where we are lacking in the work we are doing, I think I'd be more inclined to support them. But I think again, it's almost looking for a problem where one hasn't been identified, where our officers do regularly bring forward requests for additional resources as is needed to support their roles.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A staffing survey is totally unnecessary because all matters of health and safety and governance are already in place with the requisite professional contacts. Staff can freely raise any issues at any time. Should any concerns arise, a retained professional consultant will advise what is appropriate and necessary. Staff employee assistance is also available to us as Councillor mentioned, CALC, and the functions of Worcestershire County Council and Wychavon District Council. An informal employee assistance programme already exists, and this works successfully, as was illustrated by a recent situation where a staff member needed some additional welfare support, and this was appropriately provided. I've taken the time to consult with our people, and they are happy that we work together as a small, focused team that understands what is needed to achieve for our residents. Any additional work resources that may be required by our staff are readily and easily discussed with the leader and/or committee chairman, and are actioned following appropriate procurement procedures. For example, St Richard's House server, as Councillor mentioned, was recently upgraded. Improvements to our phone systems proposed by our staff are being actively pursued to enhance our services to the public and to make life easier for our people. Staffing matters are in any case foremost within the remit of the Resources Committee, and I'm afraid this motion appears to be not only unnecessary, but also an attempt to circumvent the existing committee structure. This motion is totally unnecessary and will not be supported by me. It demonstrates, I'm afraid, a lack of understanding of this council and how it very successfully operates.
Thank you very much. Councillor Humphries, please.
Thank you. The intention definitely, I know, having spoken to Councillor Franks regarding this motion, was not to recreate things that are already being done. And it does sound like some good work is happening. This is not just about asking for resources, etc. This is also looking at both staff and volunteer development. And I'll put my hat, sorry?
It's all right. It's a raise what you're going to raise.
So there was a comment from over there which I didn't hear. If you could repeat that, please.
I think Councillor Simpson was
I
saying.
was saying, I was going to say something you're going to say. I think.
Right. Thank you. But just to say that with my day job hat on, I'm responsible for volunteer development, skills development, and I've also worked with staff as well around skills development. And I think it's really important to make sure that we have those in place so that staff feel that, and volunteers feel that they can get everything they want to from that role. And develop and grow and maybe move on to other things. One of the things I really loved when I was a manager, don't manage staff anymore, just volunteers, which is probably actually harder in some cases. But I really loved it when people moved on to something bigger and better after gaining experience and confidence of working or volunteering with me. And that's something that I think the essence of this motion was intending not to circumvent the current committee process. And I feel Councillor Brooks was a little bit aggressive in his response to that. This wasn't the intention at all. We were just trying to make sure that staff feel valued, listened to, heard, and that they have, and staff and volunteers have the opportunity to grow and develop as they want to.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. All I was thinking, that my question was almost that I was going to ask you to Councillor Frank, was this precipitated by any particular event? So, and it's the thought about the fact we've got all these volunteers that struck me. Are you aiming to get the volunteers involved in this process by giving them, talking to them, doing a survey with them? Is that what it's aimed at?
Yes, exactly. There's nothing funny about this. I'm sorry, Councillor Brooks, but your comments were beyond ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I did say the most appropriate committee, so I was saying it was going to be done through a committee, and I expected that would be the Resources Committee. But as someone on the Resources Committee, I've never seen anything come through that talks about that's asked, where we've actually asked staff and volunteers how they feel, what their thoughts are on the job. Like I mentioned, if they are concerned about health and safety, but they just, maybe that's the place where they just write it. Or if there's some extra way they could enjoy some job satisfaction, what would improve it? There was nothing more than just wanting to do some good. I have talked to the staff and I have heard a couple of suggestions which haven't come up, and I just thought it would be nice if there was a process, because I'm quite a process-driven person, where we could have that written down and we could go through it in the resource committee and just say, right, well, what can we do about this to help our staff and volunteers?
Thank you very much.
That's
Can
it.
I just make an interjection here? I've spoken to the staff as well over the period of time, and we've got 100 people who do the volunteer bureau work. If they weren't happy, would they be doing that? That would be the question I would like to ask, because I went to a dinner with them. I was very happily invited to a lunch as mayor. I had quite a long chat with them, and not one person made any complaints about not being treated correctly or wanting more. I do agree there's always a way of making more available for everybody who's employed, but I'm just saying from my point of view, they were so happy on the day I saw them, and I did have a chat to all of them. I do that. And sorry, Councillor Humphries.
Just to clarify that,
Yeah.
I work for a large national charity. We have a considerable number of volunteers. We regularly do an annual volunteer survey to find out how because it may be that they're happy with the role, but there might be other issues in the onboarding process, retirement process for volunteer leaves, etc. And so we carry out annual volunteer surveys of probably quadruple, maybe even more the number of volunteers that you have here in a number of different roles. So it's not difficult to do to survey volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Brooks, and I think we'll do the final one there.
Thank you for that, Madam Chair. Perhaps just to explain about committees. I mean, what I'm very conscious of is not loading us down. As I said, we're a small organisation, not loading us down with more procedures, more formalities and so on. I mean, there is absolutely nothing to prevent Councillor Franks having informal discussions with our volunteers. And if something interesting or pertinent comes out of those conversations, then he can bring it forward to resources or whatever, or CNA, whatever is appropriate. and say, yes, I think we need to do this or we should have that. Absolutely, and that works within our committee process without putting on another layer that I think we just simply cannot accommodate. And also, I think one of the pleasures of this council again is that we do work quite informally and in quite a team sentiment, so that a good idea, gets developed and then put forward. And I think really, I'd be very happy to see Councillor Frankfurt say bring something forward, a specific item for a good purpose, and that the council can consider.
Okay, Councillor
Thank
Morris, please.
Again, now I know more about it and heard more about it. I actually agree with the intention of the motion. I just don't like it as a motion, if I'm perfectly honest. We are a small organisation, and I think we could do this with discussion with the town clerk and raise something along the lines that you're suggesting separately, instead of having the formality of a motion to do it. I think it's something that can be done. We want the best for our staff. We want the best for our volunteers. We have a great number of volunteers. We have a great team of staff. But there's always improvements you can make, and we need to be listening and guided by them. They understand Droitwich as much as us, sometimes better than us, I have no doubt. So we want to have openness in that communication. I just don't really like it as a motion, if I'm honest.
Sorry, can I consider, what's the difference between us doing it informally through the staff, and would it then, if it's informal, would it come to the resources committee? Then if we pass it as a motion and it becomes a formal part of our processes, I'm not quite sure what's the real difference, other than you just get to vote against the motion, but it still sort of happens, or maybe it doesn't.
Well, I won't.
Alternatively, if we take council process, just as I can do something. So can I do an annual survey of all of the staff and volunteers, and then bring that to the resource committee?
And Councillor French, you're perfectly fine to have your view. I've been on council a long time, longer than anybody else on this council. And it's just not the way that we've operated. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't change, doesn't mean that we should do things differently, but we've been much more informal, and we've developed things accordingly between us in a friendship and an agreement way, instead of standing on ceremony with motions and formalities. We've just not done that. That's not just happened the way here. We're much more informal.
If I can, I think I like to see motions that have a bit of community support behind them. The community here, I didn't realise we had 100 volunteers. I remember meeting many of them last year at the volunteer dinner, which does create a great opportunity for people to talk. And I know that I've learned a lot from our volunteers and our staff when I've come in to work in the building. I think if I saw a motion put forwards with that community behind it, asking for something specific, I think it'd be very supportable. I think that's a big part of it. Is this is almost assuming that the people it's trying to help aren't able to come forward and raise issues, whereas I think in my experience that they have been, and I think I'm happy to look with the people that it's there to try and help for potential improvements to our communication procedures as we have them. But I think passing a motion here that's that vague, but also isn't led by the people that it's there to help, misses the mark. In the same way that the previous motion missed the mark on sort of it misses out on what we are already doing from a sustainability angle. This one misses out on what we're already doing from an employment angle, and I think that's an important part of these sorts of motions, is taking into account what's already being done, taking into account and having the support from the people that it's there to help. I think that's an important part of any motion that will come forward.
Thank you.
Do we have-
Councillor Davidson.
Are all our
Finally,
volunteers
please.
the ones who come in and help behind the desk? Are there any other volunteers at all?
Well, we as councillors are.
Well, yeah, that's very
Actually.
true. But I because I like the place, I pop in here a couple of times a week usually, with the excuse of dropping off a free newspaper. And I chat to the volunteers. And I feel they come here for social reasons.
Companionship.
Because they enjoy coming, and they're mostly retired and maybe widowed or widowers. And they come here purely because they enjoy it. And I don't see how they can be developed. Although I agree with the sentiments in any other context, I just wish when I was working, I was as happy as they are.
Okay, so proposer, please.
We've got a proposer.
Oh, sorry,
Councillor
second.
Franks. We've
Sorry,
got a
I'm doing
seconder.
this again.
So all in favour of the
Yeah, all in
motion as
favour.
presented? Any against? And any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. So going to item 21 now, please. To consider a motion for remembering Colonel Rainsborough to receive and consider the following motion proposed by Councillor Neil Franks.
Okay, so as a volunteer here, obviously without any training, may I say, and that would be quite useful to put on a survey of some sort. I was going to have a speaker today, but got the procedure a little bit wrong. Obviously my fault, but again, no training, so I didn't realise. But I was going to have a resident talk here. He contacted me about introducing me to Colonel Rainsborough, an individual I'd never heard of until Mr. Griffiths had sent his initial email. The Colonel was quite an impressive figure, and I'll probably have to give a bit more detail because obviously Mr. Griffiths wasn't able to. He was around in the English Civil War. He was a colonel, obviously, in the army, came from the navy, and he fought on the parliamentary side. He was very good at siege warfare and won a lot of battles, including that at Worcester, where he became the Protectorate of Worcester, and later became the MP for Droitwich, hence the connection to Droitwich. He was he very spoke out about a modern day parliament, and I'm going to actually, because I've got time now, I'm going to read what he said. I'm not going to do a very good job of it because it's all English, but I'll try my best. And it was the rise. It was basically talking about the rise of a modern day parliament. And he said, and this was at the Putney debates. Of 1647, Worcester College, Oxford. You may have had a chance to read it. For really I think that the poorest he that is in England hath a life to live as the greatest he, and therefore truly, sir, I think it's clearly that every man that is to live under a government ought first, by his own consent, to put himself under that government. And I do think that the poorest man in England is not at all bound, in the strictest sense, to that government that he had not had a voice to put himself under. Now, to us, that is pretty much modern day parliament. To them, it was a dream of what we dreamt of. So, therefore, what I'm doing is calling on Droitwich Town Councillors to maybe do a bit further research on Colonel Rainsborough. Because of his connection to Droitwich, and secondly, his speaking out for the modern kind of parliament and democracy that we now live under. And then for them to be a discussion at a later council meeting, perhaps maybe March or April of this year, and to see if we would like to provide some sort of memorial and what kind of form that could take. So just as an example, I live on the Copperfields. We have Charles Dickens Close, Charlotte Bronte Drive, and Geoffrey Chaucer Walk. We could look at a new housing scheme and look to dedicate it to democracy. So it could be Democracy Drive, Parliament Place, and even Rainsborough Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just ask if there's a second for the motion.
Is there a seconder for the motion, please?
Yes, I fully support this motion because I have some connections with the siege captains in my family. He was a very charismatic individual. He actually was similar to Oliver Cromwell himself, and was recognised very much as a very forceful and influential person. He was the head of the Levellers group within the Parliament, and he obviously was striving for equality for people. So I think he certainly would deserve some consideration here, which is why I am actually supporting this.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor Hopkins. Councillor Simpson, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the motion asks us to undertake some research at their own on Colonel Rainsborough, which is exactly what I've already done, so I've actually gone along with this. As far as I can see, he never actually visited Droitwich. He became the Member of Parliament for Droitwich, wasn't elected, it was given to him, and he was more interested in the military side of his job than visiting Droitwich. So, in fact, the relationship with Droitwich is tenuous, to say the least. I'm happy for other people to contradict this, but this is the research I've done. So I really think there are other people I could put forward, like Rick Mail, for instance, who we could perhaps do a memorial to far before this chap. I mean, we've done some excellent work on John Corbett, on Hemming, who very much were related to, but I really don't see the point of commemorating somebody who never stepped foot in our lovely town. And that's as far as I can see. And that, so I can't possibly support the idea of a memorial. That doesn't mean I oppose the motion, because the motion is asking us to do what I've already done. But I just don't see what form this memorial might take. So I'm in a funny position with the motion, because I've actually done it already. So, but I mean, if you're going to correct me, please do, but that's all I can see of this chap. And although, I mean, he's got a memorial in Putney, hasn't he, which was what they might only been, apparently, years ago. And there is a memorial to him there, but nowhere else. But I've got to say, thank you for bringing it to my attention. I'd actually never heard of him before I saw the motion. So I've been educated, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson.
Yeah,
Councillor Davison.
I was going to some research too, and in all honesty, I think my grandmother did more for Droitwich. After researching the guy, I've decided I don't like him. First of all, he was representing a parliament that banned Shakespeare for 18 years. Just after, this is within a month or two of us commemorating a Shakespeare event. Plays were forbidden. Also, if you were to play football on a Sunday, you'd be whipped. This is like a very, very right-wing, puritanical body of people. We'd have ended up with a government a bit like the Ayatollah Khomeini. He even fell out with Cromwell in the base that Cromwell didn't want to have an election because he thought the royalists would win. He became MP here through warfare. He laid siege to the city of Worcester, and the mayor, the aldermen, the councillors, and townspeople were the first city in Britain to declare in favour of the king. In the end, they had to surrender. There wasn't a massive amount of carnage, but he did his bit for the environment by reducing overpopulation. And he immediately confiscated the mayor's regalia and stuck their own people in charge. They fined the Littletons and the Backingtons, after whom we got roads, for the privilege of remaining in their own properties. And altogether, I don't like him at all, and he doesn't seem to have any connection with George.
Thank you. We'll just have one more.
Yeah, again, I have no issue with this as a motion. Your motion says you want to do more research. That's fine. But also, Councillor, I found what you said quite interesting. So whether that, and I'd be interested to see what a memorial you had in mind, what that looks like. So I have no issue with this. I have no issue with this motion. That's whether I agree with the person and or not. So I think it's part of history. I can support you on this one.
Well, just obviously, maybe next time, if it does go forward, then Mr. Griffith can come and actually do his 3-minute talk and give you a bit more detail, a bit more information on it.
Thank you. Can we go to the vote now, please?
So we've got a proposer and seconder for the motion as presented. All in favour?
So all in favour, please.
Any against?
Any against?
And any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. So
22.
yeah, so we go to 22, to consider a motion regarding the neighbourhood plan project questionnaire responses, autumn 23. To receive and consider the following motion proposed by Councillor Rod Hopkins, please.
Okay, this is in no way intended to be criticism of the neighbourhood plan group. The basic reason that I'm putting this forward is that plus or minus 4%, or perhaps I should say 800, or should I say, in terms of the leaflets we put out, which I think are around 12,000, for 20,000 people who should have received the original notice. It's quite clear. You could take the view, oh, well, they're just not interested. But I know that isn't the case for a number of people, some of whom were sitting around this table today. They did not get that questionnaire because they didn't get the initial leaflet. And the problem is I've been involved with leafleting for years, including in Twickenham, which is a very yellow colour town at the moment. And it was generally agreed that the concept of using these deliverers was not going to produce much more than 3-4% from the drop. So our result was probably in line with what would be an expectation. The big problem is that a lot of people, that many people, tend to throw the junk mail that comes through their letterbox, which could be a curry advert or some other thing, or a supermarket. They get those together, they don't look through them, they put them in the bin. And I had a very interesting conversation with the Residents Association of the Westlands. I asked them, there were 8 families represented, although I must say I'm a member of of that as well, because I live in the Westlands, well, on the outskirts. And I said to them, right, how many of you received the letter, the initial letter? And therefore, how many of you did the questionnaire? The answer was one couple. Not surprisingly, it was the chairman and his wife. They got the slip, and they did, both of them filled in the form. But the general review was, well, we didn't get them, and if we got them, they probably went in the bucket. But we would like to be interested in it. And if you had used social media, then we would have seen it, and so would a lot of other people, as long as we use the right social media. So the point I'm making really is that we could go and see whether we could enhance the 800 to a number in an inexpensive way. If we were to put a leaflet in, I don't mean leaflet that goes through the door, but an advert about the plan, list the sort of benefits people will get in it, which could be just 1, 2, 3 bullet points, and then attach the link to the questionnaire. I know for a fact, because you can pay basically on the area you want covered, and I know there's been a previous example where he did 5 miles from the centre. it costs very little money. We're not talking more than 50 quid. And all I'm saying is that inexpensively, at least we can say, we tried to enhance this, this thing so that if 96% aren't interested, well, that looks pretty bad, but at least we did try to get them to do it by giving them a second attempt and recognising that we did not contact enough people. They didn't read it, perhaps because they threw it in the bin. I didn't get it, perhaps my wife threw it in the bin, let's put it that way. I can't remember throwing it in the bin, but, you know, this happens. So all I'm saying is an inexpensive approach to try and get some more people involved is not going to cost this council a fortune. And at least if anybody questions the response, you can at least say, we did try, we went into social media as well. So that is the reason of my motion, and I hope some people, particularly those who didn't fill in the form because they didn't get it, will support it. And I don't want this to be a political issue. It's not a political issue. It's a common sense issue relating to something that we've got to get right. And then if we say we tried, then that's fine. Because it's going to come up as you say, there'll be an election at some time to assess whether the people of this town want it. We don't want people saying, well, we don't know what the hell it's all about. Anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. And is there a second, please?
There is. I think all I would just add is really to add weight to what Councillor Hopkins has already said. That, as I said before, I'm a process-driven person, and I was quite taken back by how many councillors said they hadn't received it at the last meeting. So I do think, like Councillor Hopkins says, I just feel like where there's this like blip in the system, that you just try and find a way of improving on it and overcoming the issue, and an inexpensive way of doing it doesn't seem too much to ask, to be honest.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brooks, I'll come back.
Yes, thank you for that. And again, I thank you for raising the issue. Although I would prefer that you came and perhaps spoke with me first, so we've actually gone through what's involved. First of all, at the bottom line there, we have a Wychavon officer who is ensuring that the project is fully aligned and supported by the district council. And I'm pleased, to report that this is not a showstopper. Yes, it's unfortunate. It's something we wouldn't like, but it's not a showstopper. The expert opinion from our professional consultant is that, in his opinion, the questionnaire responses are proportionate with what would be expected for the evidence gathering part of this relatively early stage of the project, where we are simply inviting feedback for consideration towards drafting, producing draft plan policies. The level of response actually is in line with peer groups for a similar sized population, and there are no concerns from the consultant over the robustness of the process, and from the professional consultant, and also from the examiner's principles that will come in later. And as I said earlier, the responses are good. For example, Buckingham, as I say, similar size to Joy, which had 300 replies for a population of 26,000. So, but obviously the steering group are aware that, disappointingly, some residents have not yet had an opportunity to give their input on the plan. I agree on that. Now, I apologise for this, but I can assure everyone that they have not missed the boat, and there will be several more opportunities to contribute. There's no need to repeat this exercise. Just to explain, under Regulation 14, the first draft of the plan will incorporate feedback from the responses we've already had. So there is a first, if you like, initial draft of a neighbourhood plan. And the idea of this first consultation is simply to look at what are the issues that most people are concerned about. So a 400 is a reasonable sample idea of what you're putting in the plan that's being drawn up, what the consultant will put in. When he's done that, which I think will be in about the next 6 weeks, the Copies will be available to view on the council website, in the library, and at our tourist information centre and so on. And at that point, anyone can comment on the plan. So in other words, if you didn't get a chance to comment on this first round, and when you look at the plan, it might have in it already what you might have said. If it doesn't, then you have the opportunity to bring that forward. And again, any responses, all the responses from that phase will then be used to modify the initial draft plan accordingly. So by doing that, so what I'm saying is that yes, I appreciate the point, but there's no need to repeat this particular first exercise. It can all be hoovered up, if you like, on the next round, because everybody will have a chance to say something. And then, of course, after that, the draft plan will then go for consultation with which is the planning authority, which is what they call a regulation 16, and of course we have to conform with the settlement development plan anyway. And after that, it will be referred to the inspector, as I mentioned earlier, the Secretary of State. And then finally, everyone on the electoral register employment will have their opportunity at the referendum to say yes or no. But obviously, we don't want to put a lot of work into something that people don't want. And that's why there's these consultations. So I just want to be quite clear that everyone will have their say, and certainly any suggestions for how we publicise this next phase would be very grateful to receive, and that would be very useful.
It's important that anything that is done for consideration by the public is notified, and that the using the social media as a Facebook, for instance. I know the people in Westlands look at the Facebook. That if we use it to advertise those things, but just to say it's sitting on our web, or we say to the press, or it's available in the town or in the library. I think we have to give people the chance, and as we've missed a lot of people. Okay.
Can I just
think
stop
that
this
we
now,
need to-
Rod? We've gone through this, and I appreciate what you're saying and what you're doing, and we don't want to repeat it again. So can we go to Councillor Brooke, if you wait for some time?
Councillor Key was first.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
No, he wasn't actually. He wasn't.
I thought he was before Councillor Hopkins.
No,
sorry.
Councillor Brooke.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. I'm kind of completely agree in the sense that with what you're saying, that we should have more people have a say, and social media should play a key part. Mainly because it is quite a deep impacting thing, and to get it wrong, I'd rather we spend 500 quid now than 50 grand putting something in place that people may not want. It's good to know that Councillor Brooks has mentioned there's a further consultation period. So whether we could put more advertising into people my age or people that missed the initial consultation period.
I was going to ask you, Councillor Brooks, how you're saying we're all going to there's going to be a second chance to do this. How are you going to make it better? Because almost nobody I know had this form. Nobody I know had it.
I understand that, and certainly, in fact, Councillor Hopkins and yourself and any other councillor is always welcome to the steering group meeting and put forward ideas how we can better publicise. So what I'm trying to say, two things. First of all, from the point of the motion today, and I understand why it was brought forward, we don't actually need to repeat the exercise, because in fact, in some ways, it's more beneficial because people will see. It's always easier if people see a draft because they say, "Oh, I agree with that. Don't like that bit," rather than the initial forms are a little bit more open-ended. But certainly, I'll be very pleased to take on board any suggestions for improving the communication that the thing is there and people can look at it. I mean, as I said, it will certainly be on display here, library, and there's no reason why, for instance, there shouldn't be something over on the Westlands Community Centre, or wherever you think. So all of that can certainly be taken up. All I'm saying is that at this stage there is no need to repeat that first stage, because we've kind of used that to get to a second stage, where again there is a full opportunity for everybody to make their comments and agree or disagree with what's in there, and that would then be put together. So So I'm certainly welcome any constructive suggestions. But just to run through
Okay,
here, I mean,
finally,
sorry.
sorry, we're going to move on a little.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, all right. I was going to say I've got a list because it wasn't just that leaflet. I mean, it was obviously it was announced at council meetings, there was press articles, there were notices on the web, and there was some social media coverage, and there were drop-in centres with displays, paper-based questionnaires, the library and heritage centre. So there was quite a lot done to try and publicise it. But again, any constructive suggestions to do better were very well.
Councillor Richard, Morris, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I didn't get the flyer, but then I knew about it and completed it anyway because I knew about it. But if we had 800 plus responses, then is there a way that we could know where they were generated from? So that the next consultation we could target maybe some of the new estates because they may not feel as involved in the town. Young people, I definitely agree, should have a voice and be included. People who work in the town and businesses. So maybe there's a way of targeting to try and get a wider representation as well, which I think would be good.
Councillor Duffy, I think that's the final thing now.
Thank you. I was just going to say that Councillor Brooks is very right in that people tend to give more of a response when they have a draft they can look through and compare and judge the work that's been done so far. I think as our professional confirms, does show a really good starting point from a very vocal group of the town, as you'd expect to see in an initial consultation. I think with social media, I mean, as you just evidenced, it was on social media and it was missed. Social media advertising is almost as easily missed in large part as leaflets, which I know from my own experience leafleting, I know from the experience I've seen of your leaflets, Councillor Hopkins around the Westlands, leaflets are very easily missed. And it's a difficult one to get around. Usually it's when people are passionate and scrutinous, as with the volunteer that we both know from the Westlands, has shown by his own responses, it showed that the leaflet did get around the Westlands. I think I'd be really excited, and this is where I think this motion is unnecessary for the upcoming consultation parts that we discussed in the last meeting. I'd like to echo Councillor Brooks's points that all councillors are very welcome to the Neighbourhood Development Plan steering group meetings. I think it'd be very valuable. It was a shame that a place on there was turned down by yourselves. I think, would it be, taking Mark and Bob's opinions on this one, would it be fair to share the suggestion that I made in our last Neighbourhood Development Plan meeting about the next stage of, or the suggestion I made for the next stage of consultation about doing it in person?
Yes, that was Thursday.
Yeah, I think what I suggested, and it's something we've seen being very effective in the past, and is a much more effective method than faceless online or paper consultation, is doing consultation meetings at locations around the town. In our many great community halls around the town and other locations. I think taking what Councillor Morris has said, it'd be really interesting to look at locations that are a bit more tailored to specific groups of people. Obviously, it's a national problem that can be difficult to engage younger people. So I think it'd be great to look at specifically those sort of areas where young people may not be picking up on as much, possibly through our connections with DCVS. We could look at different groups within the town and try and reach as many as possible.
May I just very briefly sum up?
Yeah.
Just to say that I hope that it's been clear now that, yes, I appreciate Councillor Hopkins' concern. However, there is no need to repeat that particular exercise because in a sense it's superseded by the next phase, which we just talked about, which I think will be more effective. But certainly there's lessons to be learned, and I'm very happy to take input from Councillor Hopkins, anyone else who has ideas how we can better disseminate the information for this next phase, so that everybody gets their chance to look. So I won't support the motion, but not because I'm quite happy that it's intent, and I think it's going to be gathered up in the next part of the process.
I think, Chairman, just a bit of background that was confirmed on Thursday. it's probably going to be about 18 months to get to the referendum stage. So there is quite a long way to go on the plan. There's 2 or 3 rounds of further consultation. The one that was undertaken in October was initial evidence gathering only. So residents will have the opportunity to contribute on 2 more rounds, and then residents will put their vote into the referendum. So that there is no real concern with that, and it is only evidence gathering to help shape draft policies. That's it. Up to this stage, and that's professional guidance of the consultant who says it meets all expectations. He's led on 30 plus neighbourhood plans and delivered them from towns to small parishes, so it comes with good credentials. So we'd have no concern or reason to doubt his guidance. And that was echoed by Andy Ford, who's the lead officer for neighbourhood plans for the whole of the district.
Could we just take one more from?
Yes, I've got to say I've got great sympathy with this motion. We have a WhatsApp group where I live, and it relates to about 50 constituents. So I put it on the WhatsApp. Did anybody get the questionnaire about the neighbourhood plan? And everybody came back, no, we didn't. And I think it's a shame. But whether we can actually restart it, I mean, you suggest reopening it, I'm not sure. I think what is vital is that people know about it. And it's one of the problems we have, isn't it? That we know paper that gets to newspaper gets to everybody. And I think the lessons we learned from this motion is that we use every means at our disposal to actually publicise this neighbourhood plan. Because nobody among our WhatsApp group exists, not one person. And I think it's vital we do. So I think we've raised a major issue here. I do agree with the issue you've raised. I'm not sure, and you're right. We all deliver political leaflets, and we know how many of them got thrown away. So perhaps it happened with some of these, but in fact, nobody in my road or one Africa actually received it. I know that because they're very erudite, intelligent people, and they asked me, and I said no. And if I can say to them what we just decided, that they will get plenty of opportunity, then that will placate them. We need to be able to say that to so many people. I think it's vital. So thank you for raising this. I think it was well worth raising.
I think we've got to take it to vote now. It's time to get on.
Well, can I withdraw it?
Sorry?
On the basis that we've had assurances from Councillor Brooks that the subsequent action will take into account the need to get better advertising of the opportunity to do it. So there's not much point having a vote, which we'd probably lose anyway.
Well, thank you, Councillor Hopkins, for being so understanding. And yes, I think you're right with what you said. So.
I sympathise with everything you said, really.
That's very good, thank you.
2 things. First of all, thank you, Ken. I appreciate that, and I'm very happy to work with you and with everyone else as we move forward to doing better. But a small point of order, I think the seconder must also agree to withdraw the motion.
Yeah.
I will withdraw and
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now I think we can close the meeting. And thank you very much for attending.
Well done.